Demetrius sits on the docks, muttering to himself while furiously scribbling in his journal. I cannot believe that I got the wrong ship. I'll become a laughingstock within Fulcrum. Possessed villagers, blood magic, leading a druidic ritual? This is all too much to take in. Ophelia walks in the direction of the docks to see about a ship that could take her back to the mainland, when she heard a familiar voice muttering about missing a ship, blood magic, and the druid ceremony. She looked over to see Demetrius, the intern of the Fulcrum acolytes, who had made the journey with them, scribbling furiously over his notes. Hey there, stranger, she called out, letting her presence be known. Demetrius drops his quill out of shock, having not heard anyone approaching. He quickly turns around to see who's there, the voice sounding mildly familiar. In one breath, Oh, Ophelia, you frightened me. I guess everything has since we arrived. I traveled with my father when I was young, but that was to Vandor, not a cursed island. Please tell me this is not what's really out in the world. I'm not certain if I'm ready for what I've been forced to sign up for. I thought that being assigned to a Knight of the Round Table would include some risk, but this is all happening so fast. Demetrius looks towards Ophelia with a concerned look on his face while catching his breath. Realizing he was staring, he turns back to view the vast ocean, putting his journal down beside him. Ophelia's eyes widened and jerked her head back as a rush of words swarmed her. After taking a second to let the words sink in, Breathe, my friend, breathe, slow down. She watched him catch his breath as he sat aside his journal and stared into the ocean. May I sit? She asked, gesturing to the empty spot on the dock next to him. Calmed after a few moments and breathing through closed eyes, Demetrius takes one final soothing breath. But of course, scoots over even though there is ample space for a horde of people to sit. Demetrius looks up at Ophelia, smirks, then quickly darts his gaze back to staring mindless at the horizon. I do apologize for my unsteadiness. This is all so much to take in at once. Lady Ophelia, what brought you here? Did you know the curse and come to rid it? I can't imagine why anyone would willingly come here. Ophelia smiles warmly and sits down beside him. No need to be so formal, my friend. Ophelia will do just fine. And no, I did not know of the curse beforehand. I, along with the others of my guild, were invited to investigate an uninhabited island. We did not know what lied here. Quite a shock, wasn't it? She said the last sentence with empathy. Even to a well-seasoned traveler like herself would never have guessed what would have befallen here. At her behest, Demetrius loosens his shoulders. For the first time since they landed, he feels somewhat at ease. That's putting it lightly. I've only heard of such magics through story. I've had a growing curiosity since the events of the Mist, but never thought I'd live it. And although I know we did the right thing, seeing this much death saddens me. All their stories ending short. I heard naught of this island in my studies. I wonder if those twin brothers had to do with its striking from history. Your guilds. I believe I heard Fennel mention the Voyage Maru. I had once thought of being found by you, but instead I went to study in Fulcrum. I still wonder if that was the correct decision, as I still feel lost. Do you ever have and question that feeling? Demetrius's voice tapers off as he realizes he knows nothing of Ophelia and is asking such a personal question. The stains of death clouds his typically decorum conversation. Ophelia gives out a light chuckle, looking out to the horizon as well. Actually, believe it or not, I have questioned it. In fact, I did quite the opposite. See, I was born into Voyage. However, I have considered joining Fulcrum. The only thing is, I enjoy going to my own road, at my own speed, on my own terms. She looks at him out of the corner of her eye. Though if I am to be honest, I think you'll fit in with the acolytes quite well. You solved the puzzle box, helped organize the stone ritual, led the blood ceremony, and defended yourself all the while. You were able to both think and act quickly, even when we were all losing our wits. She looks back to the horizon. It is regretful, though. Yes, the curse is lifted, but what if I told you that perhaps we are the reason it came back in the first place? Demetrius's jaw opens wide with astonishment. Absolutely astonishing. I understand wanting the freedom. It's something I long for. My father had that freedom, although I'm not exactly sure how. But we traveled whilst my mother studied and taught. Such is life. Before getting too caught in memories and dreams, Demetrius focuses back into the conversation. Oh, those? 'Twas nothing. I owe you for helping with that blasted box. Gotta love being right, but wrong. I do appreciate that, though. It felt nice to be needed. I just wanted to get away from that tree. But whatever could you mean? This isle was forgotten. How could we have changed its course? Ophelia took a large, calming breath and gently released it. You know of the mists? I'm sure your guildmates told you of what transpired in Hynafol. That when we walked into the mists, only 5 days had passed for us, yet it was 5 years for you. We heard that dragons had reappeared in the known world while we were there. I had believed that was all that had happened, but that's not the case. When you and the others went to find the amulet, Fennel and myself stayed behind to ask more questions. Something felt off. I asked Ash more on the story of the bastard who bled, and how the curse was originally sealed. She told me of the druid mother, of the time and the ceremony that we would do. I asked her when this ritual was last done, and when did the madness return. She turned to face Demetrius. She told me the first ritual was over 400 years ago, and then the madness had only returned 5 years ago, when we walked through the mist. Dragons were not the only thing that emerged from it. Demetrius's brow begins to furrow as the timeline adds up. Oh, goodness. That is increasingly worrisome. I knew of the time effect, mostly when the guild members returned from the expedition and had not aged a day. I was a new student when they first departed. We had worried them all dead, but could not find any information as to their fates. I fear if there are any more ripples that will cascade from the mists. Please share if you hear of more new behaviors. I'm quite curious about the changes we are experiencing. I suppose we're truly entering a new age. I wonder how much current knowledge will remain relevant. He eyes his small journal that he only had barely scribbled in, full of fear and uncertainty about his time since joining the Acolytes. I suppose that there is much more to learn, more than I ever could imagine. Maybe it's time for a different perspective on life? I tried to hide from the unknown through knowledge, but it only festered. Demetrius tosses his journal into the sea. I think that this Skaney expedition may have been what I needed, although not how I desired to achieve it. Ophelia, I am truly grateful for your presence. I hope our paths cross in less dire situations. Is there a best place to send a messenger, should I find here of new stories? Demetrius extends his hand as if to shake Ophelia's, his niceties slipping through, but stops himself. Ophelia is stunned as he tosses his journal into the sea. She doesn't know exactly what was written in the journal, but she did know how much it cost. She stopped and speculated that with his mannerisms and demeanor, that his parents that he had spoken fondly of were perhaps well off. When he had slipped up again by offering a handshake, she was more sure that was the case. She smiled and gently shook his outstretched hand, not wanting him to feel awkward. The best way to contact me is through the guild known as the Lodge. They are the brother guild of Voyage Maru. We keep in contact with them, so they will get a message safely to me. Also, if you need any aid on your future adventures where you are worried about traveling alone, seek them out. They are always up for an adventure, though we might not be parting ways as soon as you would think. Demetrius awkwardly smiles through the handshake. Ah, yes, I know well of the Lodge. I'll be sure to send anything their way. Once I return to Fulcrum, I hope to do some more research on the time surrounding the Cataclysm. I believe there to be much more to learn there, especially when it comes to lost information. I do apologize, Ophelia, but whatever do you mean by that? Is there more to learn from this isle? I did not think that the local inhabitants were too fond of us, all things considered. Ophelia chuckles. We arrived on the same ship, remember? Also, I have need to talk to one of your guildmates to shed light on a situation that happened beyond the mist. I myself will be traveling to the city of Fulcrum. Demetrius rubs his brow and chuckles. Ah, yes, of course. The whole ship matter. After the whole ordeal, there are moments when even my own name escapes me. Well, that's quite intriguing. I will definitely guide you along the way and introduce you to whomever you desire. I know little of those who entered the mists, so I would greatly appreciate being around for that conversation, if that is of no issue to you. Do you mind me asking what situation this is? Ophelia did her best, but could not hold back a pained frown. I'm afraid that the subject that I wish to talk about, well, it is a sensitive personal topic that is best talked about in private. I'm sorry. I'm more than happy to tell you about my experience beyond the mist. However, this subject is... She trails off, struggling to find the right words. She wants to confide in him. However, she does not wish to spread false rumors. Such a topic may fan the flames if it reaches the wrong ears. No, it's best that he finds out for himself what had happened. Any glee or awkward smile that was left on Demetrius's face is wiped away. I'm truly sorry. I understand we only just met, and personal matters should remain personal. I fully understand about keeping sensitive matters to one's chest. I've done it since I left home from Fulcrum. I have much to learn about the mists, and beginning with a private matter does not seem right. As we spend 2 fortnights traveling to Fulcrum, if my understanding of our location is correct, perhaps we can get to know each other better. Ophelia releases a breath she didn't even know she was holding and relaxed again, grateful for his understanding. Absolutely. We have plenty of time to talk between here and Fulcrum. She rises back to her feet. We best make ready to leave. You are quite correct on account that we might overstay our welcome if we tarry here much longer. Are you set to travel? You mentioned earlier about being assigned to a Knight of the Round Table. Do you need to check in with them before we leave? Demetrius also stands, wiping himself off as he'd been sitting on the deck for quite some time before Ophelia showed up. Yes, of course I am. With you, hopefully I shan't get on the wrong one this time. Maeve and I already had our discussion after we cleansed the island. She requested that I get to Fulcrum quickly to speak of what happened here, and to follow up on some requests she had of the mist acolytes regarding the... Demetrius remembers that not everything needs to be shared regarding his guild. Let's head off to the ship, shall we? Thank you again for sitting with me. Your company was more than you'll ever understand. Demetrius points with his whole hand back to the shore as he beckons Ophelia to walk alongside him. Ophelia follows his lead, ready to take another step in her journey.